If there is one thing the internet isn't short on lately, it's fan theories about the upcoming Avengers Endgame movie. We're as guilty as anyone for obsessing over them, but we have to admit some of them seem far more likely than others. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the more legitimate sounding theories about Endgame, and we'll let you know why we think they might come true. Parallel universe. The idea that even in a fictional universe, someone can snap their fingers and destroy half of all life is pretty harrowing. Maybe because it's so difficult to comprehend the enormity of that moment, but many fans have been speculating that the victims of the snap aren't actually dead. One option was they became trapped inside of the Soul Stone. Where Gamora's soul ended up, there's an entire soul world inside of the Soul Stone, and technically the Soul Stone was at least partially responsible for the snap. But another theory is that the people from the snap ended up in some sort of alternate universe. In the comic books, alternate universes are used all the time, but they never truly factored into the MCU before. With the introduction of Doctor Strange and time manipulation, it seems as though this is an idea which will be incorporated into the MCU lore. If this is true, it could also give us a chance to see some of our favorite heroes fighting during Endgame. They might not be on the version of Earth we're used to seeing, but they'd still have a chance to get in on some action. We'd definitely love to see a glimpse of another universe in Endgame, especially if it means some of our favorite characters are still alive. Quantum Realm. While we were crying into our popcorn at the end of Avengers Infinity War, it seemed as though our favorite heroes were lost forever. If for no other reason than profit, we don't think there's any other way Marvel Studios is killing off so many popular characters, which means there has to be some way to undo the snap. We just have to figure out what that is. The Quantum Realm can accomplish all sorts of things, as we learned during the Ant-Man movies, and people long believe it would come into play during the fourth Avengers movie. The trailer seemed to confirm this in a huge way by the mere fact that Scott Lang showed up outside of it. The last time we saw him, he was inside the Quantum Realm during the post-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp, but somehow he was able to get in and get out, and that's something our heroes could use to their advantage. Many people thought that getting the Time Stone would be the key to time travel, but now we're wondering if the Quantum Realm is the solution. Janet Van Dyne warned Scott about time vortexes within the Quantum Realm, and this is something our heroes could possibly utilize. Captain Marvel. As comic book fans, of course, we're excited for the upcoming Captain Marvel movie, but we also have some reservations. The movie hasn't even come out yet, and Captain Marvel is already being heralded as the most powerful superhero in the entirety of the MCU. Infinity War was a great movie for many reasons, and one of them was that we got to see so many beloved characters we have spent years getting to know. So why is Captain Marvel all of a sudden going to swoop into the battle and save the day? Well, one theory suggests she might be needed in the MCU for something besides her considerable firepower. Many fans believe this will be the final Marvel movie for actor Chris Evans, who plays the part of Captain America. Sure, in the comic books, other characters, including Bucky Barnes and Falcon, go by Captain America, but the MCU versions of these characters are quite different than in the comics. Captain America is more than a guy with a shield. He represents a certain moral code and a strict adherence to his values. This is the aspect of his character we don't think the MCU could function without, and it might be just what Captain Marvel is going to bring to the table. Thanos. Get ready for the understatement of the century. Thanos has a lot of enemies. After his Black Order was wiped out during Infinity War, it seems like Thanos is down to 0 friends or even co-conspirators at this point. Now, over the history of the MCU, Thanos doesn't seem like he's trying very hard to make friends or influence people, but during Infinity War, we learned he's capable of affection. Thanos has called Gamora his favorite daughter before, but many assume this was due to her fighting ability or perceived usefulness. But during Infinity War, we learned that he truly did love her, albeit in his own horrible, destructive way. Another understatement is that Thanos is a flawed person. He believes his actions during Infinity War were justified because he was saving people from greater suffering in the future. But at the end of the movie, we see him taking a journey into the Soul Stone and learn that he felt his task cost him everything of value. In the Endgame trailer, comic book fans saw a familiar sight: Thanos giving up everything to become a farmer and live a quiet and contemplative life. Sure, our heroes are gonna fight like heck to undo the snap, but at this point, Thanos has already been defeated by his greatest enemy, himself. Nebula. While the ending of Infinity War was tragic, the Guardians of the Galaxy were hit especially hard. During the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Nebula was an enemy. She had grown up hating her sister Gamora, as the two were always forced to battle and Gamora never let her win. These two siblings weren't just playing for bragging rights either. After each loss, Thanos would remove a part of Nebula and replace it with a mechanical part in order to make her stronger. But by the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, these sisters were fast on the way towards becoming actual friends. After Gamora perished during Infinity War, it looks like Nebula Nebula is missing her sister in the Endgame trailer. We see her touching Gamora's seat while looking at it mournfully. In the comic books, Nebula is the one who defeats Thanos and retrieves the Infinity Gauntlet. Sure, she's still pretty evil in the comic books and she ends up having to be defeated as well, but she still does it. With her abilities and her hatred for Thanos, she might just be the one who manages to take him down for good in the MCU. There are a lot of people who are desperate for vengeance against Thanos, but they'll have to get in line behind Nebula. Time travel. By now, we'll honestly be surprised if Avengers Endgame doesn't involve any time travel. It seems as though it's the only possible way for our heroes to have a shot at undoing the snap at this point, and there are many things which point to it being a possibility. There's the fact that a casting call was put out, looking for someone to play an older version of Scott Lang's daughter, Cassie Lang. And then we have the set photos, which make it look like our heroes are going back to the Battle of New York. Also, let's not forget that Scott somehow manages to get out of the quantum realm, and many suspect he used a time vortex to do so. Many people speculate that our heroes will need to travel back in time to specific points in history in order to retrieve the Infinity Stones. This would prevent Thanos from ever getting his hands on them and snapping his fingers. What are they going to do with the stones once they have all of them? Well, in the comic books, they mostly just do a better job of hiding and guarding them. But there's also the possibility they could be destroyed. As we saw during Infinity War, Scarlet Witch is capable of destroying the Infinity Stones, and that might be the best way to get rid of them for good. Soul Stone. It seems like if our heroes want to undo the snap, they're going to have to acquire and utilize the Infinity Stones themselves. For the most part, this shouldn't be too big of a problem. Our heroes just need to figure out where they are, gain possession of them, and have a proper object to contain their power. Okay, so it's pretty complicated, but let's talk about the Soul Stone specifically. This isn't a stone you can just pick up and use, otherwise the Red Skull would have done so instead of chilling out on Vormir all this time. The Soul Stone demanded a sacrifice of Thanos, and it had to be someone he truly loved. If one of the Avengers wants to gain possession of the Soul Stone, a price is going to have to be paid. Many people have been speculating that one of our favorite heroes, including Captain America or Iron Man, may be leaving us by the end of Endgame. It seems likely that someone may be forced to make the ultimate sacrifice in order to obtain the Soul Stone and undo the snap. We can't say for certain who it's going to be, but we're assuming that it's going to be absolutely heartbreaking. You're definitely going to want to bring some tissues if this theory is correct. Shuri. By the end of Avengers Infinity War, the body count was almost too high to count, but there was one character whose death could neither be confirmed nor denied, and that is Shuri. She played a huge role in Infinity War, and it seemed like there was no technological problem she couldn't solve. This is why many fans were so devastated when it seemed as though the Endgame trailer confirmed she didn't survive. Or did it? While Black Widow speaks of those lost during the snap, we see Bruce Banner looking at images of Peter Parker, Scott Lang, and Shuri. We all know Peter perished during Infinity War, and when we last saw Scott, he was stuck in the quantum realm at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, so it seemed logical to conclude that Shuri was gone as well. Except that, as we all know, Scott's alive and we saw him waving at the end of the trailer. Could this have been a clue that Shuri's still alive? There are tons of ways that she could play a huge role in Endgame, from rebooting whatever remnant of vision she managed to download, to creating a new Infinity Gauntlet. We don't think it's too crazy to suggest that Shuri might be alive, and her time in the MCU is far from over. Alfheim. In the trailer for Avengers Endgame, Thor kinda looks like the odd man out, or like he's about to drop an awesome new rap album. While most of our visuals tend to stick to Earth, Thor travels all over the place. But there's one location we haven't seen him visit yet. Everyone knows that there are 9 realms, and with Odin gone, technically Thor's now in charge of them. Within the MCU, we've seen him at his home in Asgard and on Midgard, which we usually just call Earth. He's also traveled to Jotunheim, the home of the Frost Giants, Svartalfheim, where the Dark Elves live, and Vanaheim, which we see him liberating at the end of Thor: The Dark World. And then there's Niflheim, where Hela ruled, and Muspelheim, the home of Surtur, which we saw at the beginning of Thor Ragnarok. This leaves Alfheim, the home of the Light Elves, as the only place we haven't seen Thor visit. What is that land like? Well, we don't know. It could potentially be a relatively safe place for the surviving Asgardians, or a place to recruit new weapons and potential allies. Taking down Thanos and undoing the snap is going to take a lot of power, and Alfheim could be a useful resource during Endgame. Ronan. Hey, you remember the important and interesting part Hawkeye played during Avengers Infinity War? Oh wait, he sat that one out. Sorry, Jeremy Renner. During Captain America Civil War, we learned that Clint Barton was taking a sabbatical from the whole superhero game in order to spend more time with his family. Although he was missing during Infinity War, fans knew he would be back, and based on the Avengers Endgame trailer, he might be an all-new hero. Comic book fans know that Ronan is a cloak-wearing, sword-wielding hero, and the name has been used by Clint in the past. Ronan is a darker, grittier hero than we're used to seeing in the MCU, so what could have prompted this change? We hate to point out the obvious, but if Clint is now Ronan, which seems likely based on the Endgame trailer, it's likely he has experienced some sort of substantial loss. Namely, we're suggesting that his family either didn't survive the snap, or that they perished in some other way prior to the start of Endgame. Maybe he took on the title Ronan because Hawkeye is still in trouble after the events of Civil War. Whatever the case may be, we're just glad to see this hero back in action and can't wait to learn what he's been up to since we last saw him. Now that you know what theories are out there, make sure to share your Endgame theories with us in the comments below. Before you head out to watch the trailer yet again, make sure you click on that subscribe button for more MCU content from us here at CBR. Thanks for watching!